How do you navigate that balance and dilemma of staying true to what you want to create, but then also realizing that certain content performs well and you want to have a successful show? How do you navigate that?
I think that it's that last part. Like if your goal is to have a successful show, if your goal is to make a career out of your creativity, that is a different thing from just self-expression. And I think that's the most important thing, to take a step back and go, what do I want to do with my creativity? Because an artist doesn't really care what the audience thinks, right? An artist makes something and then says, here, interpret it. On the other side of that spectrum, we have people who are distributors. So that's someone who works in a movie studio who says, you know what, we should make another Spider-Man because Spider-Man puts butts in seats. And I think as a creator on the internet, you're somewhere in the middle. And what I think you have to realize is, yes, you are the creative, but you're also the programming executive of your own network, right? Like this platform that you have, you're making decisions on what episode to make, partially because of what you want to make, but also you're empathetic towards the people on the other side. And so I think that's where you just have to understand your own creativity. Not everyone has to turn their creativity into a career. When I first started, when I first looked at YouTube, I was like, oh, that's a great place to monetize your self-expression. But that's actually not what it is. That is a part of what it is. But what you're actually doing is you're building a media property with a ton of empathy towards the environment, the audience, and the platform. And you are a piece of that. If you hate what you're making, it's not going to work. You have to like what you're making, but you have to take into account what the audience wants to watch and what the platform wants at the moment too. That's the reality of building a business doing this. I'm excited to dive deeper into that business side of things as well. But for people that are starting out as, whether it's a podcast, a YouTube podcast, which is a slightly different beast, or different styles of content, there's so much power in discovering what your lane is, what really lights you up the most in terms of what you want to create in your avenue of creativity. And then the monetization side of things can, come a little bit later. How important do you feel like it is to clarify what your niche is and what you're going to be talking about and what people know you and your brand as? Yeah, I think we've gotten a little bit far away from the opportunity to practice in private. Like you think about when you were a kid, did you make videos?
Yeah.
And who did you show them to?
Maybe my sister.
Yeah.
Once.
And the pressure of that is very different from the pressure of uploading a YouTube video. Yeah. And I think this distance between having an idea and sharing it, that gap has closed so much today, right? You have a thought, you record it on your phone, you post it on your Instagram story. Like that is within 60 seconds. You go from like, ooh, this is cool, I want to film it, to, oh, I'm sharing it with thousands of people. And I think that, I don't know how it happens, but I would urge every creative to explore what it feels like to practice in private, of making things and just not having the pressure of sharing them. Just looking at it, feeling like, is this who I am as a creative? After you get through that hurdle, I do think the most important thing to ask yourself is, who is this for? It's okay if the answer is, this is for myself, but then you can't expect it to be for a lot of people, right? It's okay for it to be like, I'm making this because I like to make it. But if you're trying to do this and reach a lot of people and build something out of it, you're going to have to answer the question, who is it for? And I think you have to get really hyper-specific with that. When our platform started to take off, both from an audience perspective, but also from a revenue perspective, it's when we took a step back and said, who's this for? And let's define that into 3 hyper-specific audience segments. And so we said, okay, this is for aspiring creators, people who know they want to create, but are trying to figure it out for themselves right now. They can film, they can edit, but they don't really know how to turn that into something. Professional creators who are doing it, they're making income from it, but now they're trying to get an edge or build upon the business that they already have. And then people who work in the creator industry. So that could be agents, managers, people who work at the platforms. Once we define those archetypes, the next step was to say, what's the value each of them is getting? Why are they watching? What is their transformation? Who are they before they watch an episode and who are they after? And once we dug into that, then our decision-making towards the show changed a lot. And we were able to develop kind of a mission and go, okay, this show exists to educate and empower the next generation of creators. So now everything goes through that filter. And I do think that intentionality and that focus on value creates a really sticky audience and does create a niche you have to build yourself into being singular within a category. And you have to answer the question of who's this for? Why do they watch? And why me? Why am I the one to deliver it to them? And if you can answer those questions, you start to get into a space of really understanding why your show exists and what is the return on investment of time people are getting for sitting through an hour of your show.